So there was one funny story that you were there for that I thought was really funny. And it may not be as funny to tell the story, but you're always talking about how you feel like everybody at work just hates you.
Yeah.
And so you and I were talking to some coworkers. I don't remember what we were talking about. It was me, you, and Eric, and maybe somebody else was there. And you were telling me that I'm just so interesting.
Yeah.
And Eric is like, you are really interesting, Nicole. And then you have your little outburst like, everybody fucking thinks you're so interesting. Nobody says it about me. And then everybody just scattered rather than tell you you're interesting. They just said nothing and walked away.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I don't.
It's so funny because I think you are so interesting.
Sure.
I only collect interesting people. So I think it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I think you're more interesting than me.
You do. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm very interesting either. Maybe I need to think that I'm interesting in order
Yeah.
for other people to think that I'm interesting.
Yeah.
But I think what I don't understand is like why nobody likes me. I'm so likable.
And it's so funny because I'm not very nice. I don't know why a lot of
Yeah.
them like me.
Yeah.
I
They're eager for
don't
your.
seek out their attention.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll stop seeking out people's attention and see if that makes them like me more. Maybe it's like I'm like if I become the forbidden fruit,
Sure.
you know?
Yeah. Like they're so eager to please me.
Yeah. The thing is I just like don't have it in me. I think people think that I'm like not for real. That's a
Yeah.
very, very common.
Yes. I thought that.
Yeah. Everybody always thinks that. And this is just who I am.
Yeah.
I don't have any control
Which
over
is
it.
what I love.
Yeah. I don't have an internal monologue. I don't even have the capacity to like plan something out to like make somebody. I don't have it in me. So I could try.
Yeah.
I could try to be aloof, but I just
Yeah.
would be so terrible at it. Within 3 hours, I would be on the line like, somebody talk to me. Somebody be my friend.
Meanwhile, people are messaging me, come out on the line and talk to me.
Yeah. I know.
It's so funny.
Wow.
Oh, there was something funny I was going to tell you too. Because I obviously obsessively listen to our episodes.
Mhm.
And there's one episode I made myself cringe. I don't even like to listen back to it because I say her juices
Sure.
and just listening back to it and I call it juices. I'm like,
Oh,
I'm so icked
no.
out by my use of juices
Do you
to describe her.
Would it make you less icked out if I told you I've literally never even noticed it? The thing is like,
No, I'm still icked out.
I have to edit them. So if something icks me out, I edit
Sure.
it out. I
Yeah.
just will cut it. And there have been multiple times where I was like, "Ugh."
I know. And
I
it's
don't
something I wouldn't say in real life. So
Yeah.
why I said it,
Well, because I think in that book they referred to it as that, didn't they?
I still
So that's your
cringe.
like that gives you the ick
Yes.
thing.
So
There was a thread in one of my Facebook groups where they talked about one of the ones that came up a lot was hilt.
what is hilt?
Like he like pushed himself into me
To
to
the
the hilt.
hilt. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
apparently, like, people don't
That's
like that.
interesting. I
And
wouldn't
I've
even think of that.
never Yeah. None of it bothers me. I think you have to get creative. If you called it the
Yeah.
same thing all the time, I'd be bored.
Yeah.
So,
Just like our conversation of what was it? Bean,
yes.
rub reel, and bean bank.
Yes. I do think that beanbank is gross, but
And Peggle was texting me
Mhm.
because she's like, "What are you guys even talking about?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, it's like your spank bank. Have you
Yeah.
ever heard that?" I feel like that was a common one in the 90s.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I literally had to Google because I didn't know what that meant."
Mhm.
She sent me the definition. It is a noun. Spank bank, plural, spank banks. A mental stock of images or fantasies brought to mind when masturbating.
Yeah.
That is just the definition.
That's honestly, Webster
Good job.
couldn't do any better.
Yeah. Whoever wrote that.
Yeah. But it's not I don't only men spank it.
Yes.
Women don't spank it.
No.
So that's
So,
why
yeah, rub reel makes
rub
more
reel.
sense.
Yeah. Now I have to figure out where I heard rub reel from
You do.
because
You don't think you made it up.
I don't think I did, and I can't identify. I Googled rub reel and beanbank,
Mhm.
and they are both in the Urban Dictionary. So
So somewhere along the line.
Somewhere along the lines, I heard that. I wish I could give credit where credit is due. Sorry about that.
Yeah, whoever you're stealing credit from.
Ooh,
Whoops.
not, yeah. Well,
We're back.
we're back
Part 2.
for part 2. I'm Amanda,
I'm Nicole.
and we are Book Sluts. We read, recap, and review smutty books. Let us help you decide if that book should stay on your TBR. What are we reading today?
We are continuing with The Words by Ashley Jade.
Yes. And just to recap, this is a 700-page book. So we have opted to put it into 2 parts. Same trigger warnings apply as the last book. So last week we left off with really, in essence, Lennon breaking things off with George,
Yes.
even though they weren't even really together.
No.
George is one of those men that thinks that he's a nice guy.
Yes. Yes. He's a nice guy. Women owe him something.
Mhm.
Because he's nice to Lennon, she should have sex with him.
Mhm.
He makes it very clear, like the whole book, that he just wants to have sex with her.
Yeah.
And he's so attracted to her.
Yeah.
And so does Phoenix. For some reason, it doesn't bother me with Phoenix.
Right. Well, I think too, there's a little bit of an essence to George of like almost like he thinks like he's doing the Lennon the favor. He is attracted to her, but I think
He still kind of thinks of her as a fat girl.
yeah.
And he's giving this fat girl attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just hated him. We're basically done with him now. I don't
Yeah.
care.
And in and amongst all of this, Phoenix has proclaimed that he is going to start to pursue things with Lennon, which makes Nicole
I
fucking
just
giddy.
love it.
Yeah.
I do like when we have these, like, I guess, just broken, closed off men
Yeah.
who have a soft spot for this girl.
Mhm.
It's a trope I think I like.
Sure. Yeah.
And he's so obsessed with her.
Yeah.
So obsessed with her.
I generally like the idea of being somebody's favorite person.
Mhm.
As we just opened this podcast with, I'm nobody's favorite person. So I do really, really like the idea of being somebody's favorite person. So I can understand that. We are sort of trying to navigate at this point in the book what pursuing this looks like. And to Phoenix, it looks like a relationship.
He's all in. He thinks now that, and it's so funny because it is such a man thing.
Yeah.
He, for some reason, feels like he's been the one that's been, they're not together because of him. So he's like, I've now declared
Yes.
that we're pursuing this.
Yep.
We are now in a relationship.
Yeah.
You sleep in my bed.
Yep.
We are together.
Mhm.
And Lennon is
like,
you can't just tell me that you're pursuing this. I'm not over it.
Right.
I came here on a mission to
Yeah.
destroy you. The mission is not complete.
Right.
So no. And I think too, she kind of sees, I don't know if now, but I think originally she saw maybe Phoenix falling for her as a way to get back at him.
Sure.
I don't think that's her like mission right now.
Sure.
But I think in the beginning, which also would have been me,
Yeah.
mandatory by any means necessary, and
Yeah.
breaking your heart would be just great because he just stomped on poor little Lennon's heart.
Oh, God. Yeah, absolutely. We talked about this privately like last week, but I think one of the things about this is that Phoenix is somebody who his life revolves around his image. And he's very close to what the expectation or like what the image should look like. And I think that he genuinely feels to some degree like he is doing Lennon the favor
Yeah.
because she doesn't fit the image. She's not the blonde, petite, thin, like, and Lennon, I think, knows her worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta tell you, like, Lennon, big girls get laid.
Yes.
Like, I'm
We've had this
sorry.
conversation.
Yes. Like, it's so interesting to me. And it's not just men that think this, it's women as well. There are a lot of
Women are meaner to her in this book.
Yeah. There are multiple women in this book who are like, what, he must be a chubby chaser. Like,
Mhm.
why is he into her? And like at the end of the day, again, a mid-sized woman, I'm gonna tell you right now, I get checked out all the time, and that's not me in my head.
Mhm.
I just sent Nicole a text message the other day of
Yeah.
a client who was texting me asking basically saying that he was gonna take me out for coffee, like,
Yeah.
this guy's buying $1,000,000 home,
Mhm.
and I,
Yeah.
like, I was so taken aback, I didn't even know what to do, like
And I think it's different too because, like, for us, for and we know women like this, their entire worth is tied to how men view them.
yes.
It's tied to their appearance. They feel superior
Mhm,
to plus size women
mhm,
because they're these thin, fit girls that all the men want.
mhm,
And, like, we know
mhm.
that's not the case.
They don't realize that the only thing that that person probably likes about you is the shape of your body.
Yes, and we have
Yes.
confidence and so much more to offer, just like I think Lennon does. She's so much more than just, like, a hot body.
Yeah, and that's not to say that thin women do not that's not
Not
what
at all.
that's
No.
not what we're saying at all. I just think
These women who are
there's
bullying Lennon, though, their whole worth is tied to how men
100%,
view
and they
them.
cannot wrap their fucking head around the fact that he would be interested in somebody who is the size that Lennon is, and, like, yeah, and again, like we talked about last week, Lennon is I don't even think that Lennon is that big.
No.
So I think it's frustrating that they still consider her a fat girl, but at the same time, like
Curves, though, to some women read fat, and Lennon is very, very curvy.
Mhm,
She has, like, huge great ass. It's
mhm,
Phoenix's favorite thing about
mhm.
her,
Yep.
and it does like, having curves does make you look bigger.
Yeah, and I just think, again, like to your point, talking about Phoenix, Phoenix really thinks that he is in charge here, and
Mhm.
this is really the first time that he starts to realize, like, he's not really in
No,
charge.
just because he wants her does not mean he gets her,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I like when women have the power.
I do too. I really love that she kind of stands her ground in in a lot of this. Like, I mean, she's set boundaries multiple times throughout this whole book. I do still think that she gives more power to him than she should. Because I think that there's still that element in her mind
Mhm,
of that same thought process, of that same view and that same perspective of like Phoenix Walker would never be with somebody who looks like me. And so she gives too much away. And I yeah, this whole dynamic is really interesting.
well, even this revenge thing that she has, that does give that other person more power over you.
Yeah.
So her still wanting to bring him down or still even holding on to
Mhm,
how she used to feel
mhm.
is giving him more power than he deserves.
Well, and to be fair to her too, they talk about this, but she, like, wants to have sex with him.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to do all of these things that he wants to do, so she's also trying to be fair to herself. She wants it, and why should
Mhm.
she deny herself of that? But yeah, their relationship dynamic gets really interesting from here on out. This is kind of the morning after he's
He is
declared.
pursuing her.
Yeah,
This is happening.
yeah, and she's kinda like, look at sir, we have to be downstairs in 30 minutes. Like, I don't have time for your shit. Get dressed. Like, let's get out of here." He starts to go down on her, and Chandler, the manager, comes up and is, like, knocking on their door,
Yeah.
like, while he's going down on her, and he's like, "I haven't seen Phoenix anywhere. Have you seen him?" And she's like, "He's downstairs eating," because he's literally, like,
Literally
downstairs
eating.
bringing her out. And then he's like, "Well, if he's downstairs eating, what are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm coming."
It's very much giving American Pie, where her dad comes up to say, "Dinner's ready," and she yells, "I'm coming,"
Yes.
for a totally different reason. But good for
Yes.
Lennon. What I will say, Phoenix knows what he's doing.
Lennon is very, very satisfied, which I actually think is really interesting because I feel like men like this are usually so fucking selfish. They wouldn't know how to get me there to save their fucking lives.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Well, they end up making it downstairs by the skin of their teeth. They go to an event, they have some lunch. Apparently, they have sex in a car. We don't actually see that scene. We learn about it because they get into an elevator and Phoenix presses the emergency button and asks her if she's showered since their last sexual encounter, which obviously she hasn't because, like, sir, I've been with you all day
Yeah,
driving around the city. And he's like, good, then my cum is still inside of you.
I know.
Nicole,
It's so hot, but
Nicole is beat.
I'm I'm struggling with my emotions because I do think that's so hot.
Yeah.
but also, like, just knowing that feeling is so terrible.
Yeah. I I really like this scene a lot. He sticks his fingers inside of her and then pulls them out and then makes her lick them clean and before he starts to finger her. And, like, a lot of these scenes are really just Phoenix, like, making Lennon come. I mean,
Yes.
a lot of these scenes over and over and over again are very much with her centered,
Yeah.
and I
And
don't
I love
blame
how
her.
much yes, this turns him on
Yeah.
so much,
Mhm.
and that's what I really do like about this book too,
Yeah.
is her having pleasure turns him on.
Yeah, he talks about
Yeah,
owning her body and yeah.
so
Not in,
hot.
like, a gross way.
No.
Well, they get interrupted because somehow Chandler, his fucking magic elevator button, I don't know
Yeah.
how, he somehow manages to get the elevator to open, even though they press the emergency button. And he confronts them both because he wants Phoenix to sign a contract that the record company has provided to him. He wants it signed by the next day. And the mood has been kind of ruined, and they're like, "Oh, let's, like, sneak away because Chandler can't know that it's
Yeah.
part of her contract. She's still employed despite what they're doing. And they're fooling around on their way back to the room, and they get there, and there is a young girl. She's 15, almost 16, and Phoenix thinks that she's a stalker.
'Cause she's in his room.
In their room,
Yeah.
yes. And, like, Lennon is, like, trying to kind of get grasp of the situation, and basically this girl says, "I'm not a stalker, I'm your sister." Lennon convinces Phoenix not to call security just so that they can hear this girl out. Her name is Quinn. Quinn has some pretty solid evidence. She has his mom's maiden name. She has looks that are similar to his mother. And when they learn her name, that's when Lennon steps in and is like, "We need to call security," because in and amongst all of this chaos that's been happening, there have been issues with one of the band members, Memphis, who has been accused of impregnating 2 women, one a reality star and one a minor, and the minor is Quinn. So now Lennon is kind of like, "You were right, I was wrong." And all of this kind of starts to boil over when they realize that Quinn is covered in bruises. So they get everybody else involved. They call Memphis in, they call Skylar in, they call the rest of the band in. They explain what's happening. Quinn explains that the reason that she accused Memphis of it was so that she could get access to Phoenix because he was the hardest one to get in front of. And she begs them not to call her parents because her dad is a cop. So she is basically saying, "The cops can't do anything for me. My dad is a cop." And they agree that they could stay until they have done a DNA test. So this is the origin of Quinn. She also is a little bit of a plot device.
I was just gonna say, we could have done without her.
Yeah.
This book could have been so much shorter if we just didn't have this in here. It's not super necessary.
There are a couple of pivotal things that happen that revolve around Quinn, which is the only reason that I included her information in the recap. But for the most part, most of the interactions, most of the activity, most of the things that are happening are really irrelevant.
Well, Quinn stays in Lennon's room, so now Lennon is forced to sleep in Phoenix's
Yeah.
room.
Yep.
Like, things like that I think it was forcing
Mhm.
some of this plot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that Lennon and Phoenix are sharing a room, Lennon decides to read through Phoenix's contract. She reads it out loud to him. And Phoenix is unhappy with the terms that are laid out in the contract. And Lennon encourages him to talk to the label about it. And as they're kind of finishing this up, Lennon is trying to get Phoenix to open up to her about some of his emotions. He does not want to do that. And Phoenix starts to spiral about Quinn and about his mom because Phoenix has created a story in his mind about his mom. And so he is, I think, devastated to learn that she didn't leave him and then have a better life. She left him for more of the same.
Yeah, and then brought another child into it who is growing up with seemingly the same type of life that Phoenix had.
Yeah. And while he's spiraling about this, Lennon comforts him with a kiss that turns into her on top of him. And she crawls down his body, takes his dick out, and then teases him with her mouth. And then he fucks her mouth until he comes. And then my favorite part about this scene, I'm being
The
facetious.
noises.
No, no, I'm being facetious.
Oh,
He thanks her.
yeah.
He says something like, wow, thanks a lot, pal. I really needed that. I just like fucking can't, dude. Like,
I just too, I don't know. I guess Phoenix is really broken. I don't know that I necessarily needed all of this. I felt the same way in pucking around. It was just too much communication. I didn't really need to see his evolution.
sure. You just wanted to see him fuck her.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Always looking for him.
okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get to the ratings. The band takes her advice. They stand up to the record label and they come up with a compromise, which is great. And as part of the compromise, Phoenix has given up one of the songs that he wanted to lead the album and has decided that he's going to end all of the sets with it in lieu of Lennon's song. And this appeases the fans and hopefully will show the record company what an important song it is to their album. That night, while he's in concert, Phoenix's mom shows up to bring Quinn home. And Lennon, in this moment, decides that she is going to protect Quinn until after the concert. So
Wait,
she
because
takes,
Phoenix is like recording.
yeah,
And this woman is just coming to take this girl and she knows nothing.
yeah,
She's like, absolutely not.
yeah.
Which I did love.
I really appreciated that about Lennon in that scene. Phoenix comes out of his concert and he comes face to face with his mom. And it turns out that Quinn's father was the cop who responded to a domestic violence call when she was with Phoenix's dad, which is so fucking gross, but also
So realistic.
so fucking realistic.
Yeah.
I I literally know people like this.
Yes.
This is not some fucking like fictional scenario.
No.
This is the realest shit. And our system is so fucking broken. I just
Yeah.
can't fuck with it. It makes reading it was like enraging.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that she ended up leaving Phoenix was because she got pregnant with Quinn by this cop and she needed to leave. And she was hoping that she would be able to protect this other child and then, of course, wasn't able to. And I think that's
Yeah.
it's a very common cycle to get caught up in. And Phoenix is like, I have all the money in the world. I can take you away from him. I can protect you. And he can tell that she doesn't want to. They describe it as her wanting to be the victim.
Yeah.
I don't like that description. I don't think that that's accurate. I do think that when you are in those types of relationships, it's almost fucking impossible to see past that relationship.
Yeah.
And I believe fully that his mom very likely just could not see herself doing or being anything else. While they're having this argument, Quinn, thinking that they're going to allow her mom to take her, runs away. And they can't find Quinn. They search for her. It does not go well. Lennon tries to comfort Phoenix. He is getting drunk.
Yeah.
And he throws a bottle at the wall, which nearly hits her in the face.
Like a full bottle of whiskey he
Full
throws.
bottle of Daniels.
Like that would have seriously harmed her.
Yeah.
Did you feel this was necessary? The scene here?
I
No.
I think that it gives me more context for who Phoenix is and it makes me like him that much less.
Yeah.
I
I did not like this either. I don't think there was any reason to even include it.
Well, I think that it comes back later when he goes home, like where his demons are and what his demons are and where they exist. But again, it gives us a better picture of the relationship dynamic between Phoenix and Lennon because Lennon is always saving him.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very interesting dynamic. Again, I said this at the top of the episode. I think it's a very interesting dynamic because I think a lot of men think that they are saving women.
Mhm.
Men are always the heroes.
Yeah.
And so often it's women who are. And I don't think that any woman should be saving any man. I don't think that it's Lennon's job to fix Phoenix. I hate that she finds herself in this position, but I think it is so common where women are doing all of the fucking work in these relationships. They are, and in this relationship, she is acting as his pacifier.
Yes.
She tells him in this scene, let me be your anchor. And I fucking hate that.
I do too.
I want people to have somebody that they can rely on in hard times, but not at the expense of your own safety. And there's a couple more times where he's really fucking mean to her until they find Quinn.
And it's so toxic too that this, like, she's basically saying, like, let me be everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, he does like rely on her. She's it for him. And I do, that's a little toxic even for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I didn't like this. And
Yeah.
again, that's why I think we could have just done without Quinn. We didn't need her in this book. We would have saved
Yeah.
all of this. And I don't
Wow.
want a reason to not like Phoenix.
Sure.
So I don't
So
like
you're
it.
mad about it. Well, she starts kissing Phoenix. And because Lennon is a thinker,
Yeah.
she is kind of like, what's this thing with you never want anybody to kiss you? And he's like, well, I feel like it, complicates things. And she's like, well, this is not supposed to be complicated. So maybe we should lay off the kissing.
So
And
annoying.
yeah, and she takes kissing off the table. And the only reason that I didn't like this scene, aside from the fact that it feels like Lennon forcing him to complicate things, she's
Yes.
basically playing her cards here where she's like, well, we're not supposed to complicate it.
It's a
So
way to hurt him.
it really is. And
I
I
didn't
didn't
like
like
it.
that.
No.
But also, I think it's a really fucking risky conversation after this guy just threw a fucking bottle at your head. So I don't know. I wouldn't be super eager to risk his wrath at this point. It obviously is a mood ruiner. And as she's kind of pulling away from him, he reveals to her that before his mom left him, she would tuck him in every single night and kiss him goodnight. And he didn't want to get hurt again. And this is where we learn that Lennon was actually his first kiss, which brings us back to the Bellagio fountain scene
Mhm.
where what he wanted from her was a kiss, which feels very like this guy could fucking kiss anybody.
Yeah.
What, like, it feels like such a trivial thing. And in retrospect, this is the only person that he feels comfortable kissing. And
Yeah.
he hasn't kissed anybody since he kissed Lennon.
No, that's it. He doesn't let any of these girls, and we even see it in the beginning when a girl tries to kiss him, and he's like, I don't do mouth stuff."
Yeah. Yep. So Lennon puts kissing back on the table.
I would as well. It's yep. And also, like, it seems like they just really enjoy kissing each other. So if she's enjoying it, why would she take that off the table?
This author does do a really good job of describing the kissing.
Yes.
Kissing is one of those things where I feel like it's very, very hard to describe what it is that you're doing with your mouth
Yeah.
when you're kissing somebody and like what's making it good
Mhm.
too. I am a big kisser. So I really enjoyed all of the kissing and I
Mhm.
enjoyed that they kiss so often when they are having sex because that's also something that we don't get a lot of in these books.
No.
So
No. It's usually like breath play.
yeah. Can't kiss you if I'm choking you.
Or their mouth is duct tape shut. There's a mask on.
It just gets complicated.
It does. So it's vanilla, it's real sex, and I really, really like that.
Yeah. I don't.
Nope. You need the mask and the duct tape.
I would like it if we could just Phoenix with a mask and duct tape.
Mhm,
Are you kidding me? That would be perfection.
mhm. But we need a Storm book. Storm has a mask. That Storm is where
Yes.
Lennon got the handcuffs in the
Yeah.
beginning to handcuff Phoenix.
Yes.
And he has some that make it so when bed doesn't have a headboard or like a pole, that he can still tie these girls up.
Yeah. It's an under the mattress binding
Yes.
system.
Yeah, Storm, Ashley,
Storm.
Jade, I would really like I don't give a shit about Memphis.
Mm.
There's 2 books about Memphis and Skylar, I don't give a shit.
Mhm.
Give me Storm.
He's a
Giving her
drummer.
math,
Mhm.
stalking a woman, and I'm
Mhm.
in.
I don't think that he stalks them, although
But
the
I like that I'm really in a stalker phase. We're doing Lights Out next.
yeah.
I'm really into my stalking phase right now.
Storm is like a dom. He's a top.
Yeah.
He's a dom, he's a top. When they went to go look for Phoenix and in Las Vegas, when he was swimming in the Bellagio fountain, he had a woman tied up in his room.
And he left her.
He left her there.
Oh my god.
They find him.
Yeah.
They convince the cops to let them go. And he's like, well, I better get back. I have somebody in my room. And Lennon is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
She's been in there for a long time. Which is like, at what point in time when you're that person, do you start to wonder yourself, are they coming back?
I know. Oh my god.
Oh my
And this
god.
is probably just a stranger. He's not having relationships. This
Right.
is a random woman that he has
Yeah.
tied up in
Yeah.
Vegas.
Yep. So we get the scene. It's super cute. Kissing's back on the table. And there are other things, I didn't write them all down, but there are other things that happen here that are gross. Like there's a scene here where he walks into a room that Lennon is in and her face lights up and he yells at her to get out. And I get it. You're having a hard time. You just found out that you have a sister. You didn't know. Your world has been rocked. Like, I totally understand. But again, oh God, you just are so gross.
I
I
know.
hate that. Quinn ends up being found and is returned home to her parents at the same time that DNA confirms that she is, in fact, his sister. After the concert that evening, Phoenix has been surly, again, mean to Lennon. When Quinn shows up in Indianapolis, which is a 3-hour drive from Chicago, and she is beaten almost beyond recognition.
Isn't Storm carrying her in? Like she's limp and he's carrying her in. She's just been
Yes.
beaten.
She has like fractured ribs. She has multiple contusions that need to be sewn up. And she just is in terrible shape. I don't do kids. I cried. But he asks her how she got there. And she says that it was her mom.
Yeah. Her mom finally realized that this is not her kid's gonna die if she leaves her
Yeah.
there, and this is not the best place for her.
Yeah.
I think Phoenix even acknowledges, like, she did the one right thing as a parent and got her kid out of there.
Yeah.
And sad thing is, like, Phoenix's mom is going home to
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
This is her fate as well, but
Mhm.
good for her for putting her kid first.
Yeah, absolutely. With her condition, they feel like she needs to go to a hospital. She does not want to go to the hospital. She's terrified that they're going to find her, that they're going to take her away. And Phoenix agrees. They have basically like an on-call private doctor that they, I'm sure, use for crazy shit that happens when they're on tour, that they fly in to care for his sister. And while this is happening, Phoenix disappears. And we learn that he and Memphis and Chandler drove to Chicago to beat the shit out of the sheriff or out of
Her dad, the cop, whatever.
and he basically blackmails him into getting to keep Quinn. And so he gets to keep Quinn from here on out as her legal guardian. Shortly after this, George throws a fucking pair and decides that
I thought we were done with him.
we're not done with George. George confronts Lennon and he's being mean. He's
Yeah.
being just
He's comparing her to Phoenix and saying that she just used him. Just grow up.
yeah. Well, Phoenix gets mad, which Nicole loves.
Yeah.
I don't even have to say it.
Please stand up for me. Please pummel another man for me.
Yes. Phoenix steps in, gets into a fight with George, and Lennon like breaks up the fight and is like, "What are you doing?" And Phoenix is like, "Well, he hurt you." And she says, "He didn't hurt me. You did." And they are now fighting again.
Yep.
We're back
We're
on.
non-stop fighting.
Yes. All the time. Up and down.
Ashley Jade really committed to the enemies to lovers. Yeah.
She really, really did. We did not want to let that go.
No. I think that is what I like about this too, though. I
Oh,
like that, like, hate sex,
mhm.
and this book gives me that.
They decide Quinn is now sharing a room with Lennon because Lennon is fighting with Phoenix and she's avoiding Phoenix. And Quinn has a sleepover with Skylar.
Because, of course, now there's another woman, so she has to be best friends
Yep,
with the other woman.
absolutely. Yep. And it's the women's responsibility to care for the
The child.
child.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even though she's Phoenix's ward,
Yeah,
the women need to step in and care for her.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Phoenix shows up at her door that night and convinces her to play a game of truth or dare. In this scene here, Lennon and Phoenix are, I don't know, they're kind of hate bonding, I
Yeah.
guess, would be the best way to describe it. They're sort of fighting and also sharing a bunch of intimate details. Phoenix admits that he went to Dartmouth to visit her, and that when he got there, he saw her with her boyfriend, Harry, and that she was happy. She
Yeah.
said that she was looking at him the way that she used to look at him.
I love this whole admission because he says that after their song went viral, he knew she had to have heard it, or not viral, their song was on the radio. He knew she had to have heard it,
Mhm.
and all he wanted was for her to yell at him.
Yeah.
And he went to Dartmouth hoping that she would yell at him, let him have it, make him feel as shitty as he feels.
Mhm.
And he realized that the reason she hadn't is because she had moved on. And I do like that glimpse into how shitty he felt. Because I think in a lot of books and even in movies, everything, you see the men break the women's heart and how devastated they were. And we
Mhm.
get that here. We know Phoenix, even though he's not
Mhm.
expressing that he didn't express well when they were together in high school, that he really was devastated. He was
Yeah.
in love with her, and now he's
She is the only girlfriend that he's ever had, and they technically only dated for she says it at some point when
like
they're
a
fighting.
day.
Yeah, "We dated for 2 days," and she jokes a lot about how he only half took her virginity because they didn't finish,
Yeah.
and but this is Lennon is the only real relationship that he's ever had, and probably, aside from Storm, one of his only friends that he's really ever had.
And the only person too, and I think because like once you become famous, you
Yes,
question people's
motives.
and with Lennon, he knows that she has always loved him for him. And he, I think in that moment realized how badly he fucked things up
Yeah,
and that he's telling her about this. I did love that.
yeah. She admits to him that she did hear his song and that she was mad and that she took a trip to see him in concert. And she really starts to unravel in this conversation. She really tells him that he took away all of her ability to do what she really wanted to do, which was to create music. And it just kind of gets her all fired up. She remembers what it is that she is here to do and why she's mad, and all of those old feelings of angst resurface, and she kicks him out, and as she's kicking him out, she tells him, "You didn't have to steal it, I would have given it to you." She tells him here, "I would have given you everything."
Yeah, she really and the I just for both of them, I feel for both of them. I was really emotional during this part
Mhm.
because he's realizing that she did have feelings after she went to his show. It wasn't over, and then she just, like, twists that knife in saying, like, "I would have given you everything," and
Mhm.
he, in that realization, just realized how much she did love him,
Mhm.
and it's just heartbreaking from both sides.
Yeah. Well, and later on, she does tell him she goes through, like, a faux scenario of what would have happened had they stayed and, like, worked things out, and it's pretty bleak.
Yeah,
I mean,
she doesn't think they would have made it if they would have stayed together.
yeah,
I don't disagree.
I same.
'Cause his rise to fame, I don't think she could have been there for that.
Mhm.
It would
Yeah.
have been she would have gone to Dartmouth, he would have stayed in LA.
Mhm.
She if the stuff happened with her dad again, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the only scenario anyways where things work with them.
I agree. The next show that they have is in their hometown, and Lennon gets permission to leave her duties for one night to go visit her dad. And while she is visiting with her dad, who is being taken care of by Mrs. Palma while she's been gone, Phoenix shows up, and Lennon is mad about it.
Of course she is.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame her. Like, she's here to spend time with her dad. And
Yeah.
then Phoenix shows up and her dad. It's one thing to know that someone has dementia, but to actually see
Yeah.
it. And I mean, for Lennon too, that's a very vulnerable moment for her to have somebody else witness this relationship now with her dad.
Because Mrs. Palma leaves them.
Like, I gotta go run some errands.
So Lennon is freezing Phoenix out. And while she's left him alone, she goes to do some laundry or something and comes back up and realizes that Phoenix is playing her song for her dad on the piano. He's singing it. And he has a lucid moment here, which
Yeah.
is like so emotional for Lennon. He tells her how proud of her that she is. And then Phoenix convinces her to play it for him. So then she plays her song for him. He tells her that he likes it even better than he did when Phoenix sang it. And they get some alone time here for the two of them to play music and sing together like they used to before he got sick. So it's a very special thing that Phoenix has facilitated for her in this
Yeah.
movie. However, while she is supposed to be enjoying her time off, Phoenix doesn't make it to sound check. Chandler is blowing up Lennon. He's like, this is your one fucking job. He's not here. She puts together, like, if I was Phoenix, where would I be? And she goes to, oh my God.
Is this your favorite scene? I should have known.
So she shows up at his dad's. He's drunk, even though he promised her after he threw a bottle at her head that he would stop drinking. So he is clearly very emotional. He's kind of spiraling. He is like yelling at her, threatening her, and she's sort of standing up to him. She's saying, like, I know you won't hurt me. And the whole scene is, I'm almost ashamed of the fact that I enjoy what comes next. Because
I did, though. I think this does make sense because Phoenix just helped her have that moment with her dad. Lennon realizes that Phoenix will never have that type of closure with his dad. So I think I could have, even in the moment, forgiven how shitty he was being, just because that is a really emotional, hard thing to watch somebody else get what you'll never have with the last parent that you have.
I just don't like the I need to save him.
Yeah.
Not because I don't like that she does it, but I don't like that she needs to be the one. And honest to God, I believe that there are absolutely a lot of men in this world who can only be saved by a woman,
Mhm.
which is so, it doesn't make it right, but it is very depressing. You
Yes.
know, they won't heal themselves on their own. And
No.
Phoenix would not have healed himself on his own
No.
had it not been for Lennon.
Oh,
So
no, he'd be dead.
he would be dead.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. He would have continued to free fall off of that cliff.
Yep.
So Phoenix is crying. He's sobbing. And she's comforting him. And she's like, let's go. We have to get back to the concert. And he starts his dad's trailer on fire. And Lennon is like, holy shit, we have to get the fuck out of here. And she's kind of reaching for him to get him to come with her. And he starts kissing her and then pushes her up on the hood of their car. And he starts to finger her. And then he fucks her hard and fast until they both come. I can't do this scene justice.
Yeah.
This scene is
It's aggressive. It's raw.
Yes.
It is a very hot scene.
It is a very sexy scene. I literally love that there is an actual Phoenix is literally burning the world down. And
Yes.
like he's like, we're doing this on top of this car.
They're in a trailer park.
Yes.
There are trailers around.
Yes.
And neither of them care.
Yes.
And you do love to be watched.
And I just cannot describe it. I feel like it's a very vanilla scene. So I think it's hard to describe, but it's just the way that she writes it is so visceral that it is so fucking sexy. So
she can write a sex scene.
Yeah, she can. Absolutely.
Yes.
They have returned to the tour bus. So Phoenix makes it to his concert. They're back on the tour bus. They're back doing the touring thing. And we get another naughty scene in the lounge.
I do also like this scene.
I do too. It's a good scene. He is fingering her, and he wants her to take her shorts off, and she is resistant to taking her clothes off because
They're on the bus. Everybody's on the bus.
yeah, everybody is sleeping on the
Yeah.
bus. So they're not.
Chandler's room is sharing a wall with this lounge.
Yeah. And she gives in to him because he's basically like, if you don't take your clothes off, you're not going to get an orgasm. So he is, so she takes her shorts off, and then she gets down on her knees and she starts to suck his dick. And then he pushes her up against the wall and then eats her out from behind until she comes. So he sort of pushes her chest first into the wall, and he kind of starts to like play with her ass a little bit. And she's
Yeah.
like, no, I'm super uncomfortable with that. I've never done that before. And he's like, all right, we won't take your ass. And then in his mind, he's like, yet. And men.
Yeah.
And she gets an orgasm while she's sort of bent up against this wall. This is my favorite position
Yeah.
to get out from. So I hear you, babe. Then he gets her on the couch. He has Lennon ride him, and she comes while he uses his finger to like kind of fuck her ass. And then he doesn't come.
Yeah.
So she's like, don't worry, babe. I gotcha. And then she rides him harder until he comes. This all seems great, except that the next day pics leak of Lennon and Phoenix having sex.
Yeah.
And they're all over
obviously somebody from the bus.
Mm-hmm. Lennon is fired promptly, like almost.
Which again, stupid. I mean, I guess like the leaking pictures is not a great look, and she was supposed to keep him out of the press, but he hasn't fucked up. He's been to his shows sober-ish. He's doing everything that she was supposed to get him to do. So Chandler is just being a stupid little bitch. Dickie is right.
Yeah, absolutely. Phoenix and the group think that it's George.
Because of course, it's fucking George. This little nice guy who a woman didn't have sex with him. So now he's going to ruin her life.
Phoenix beats the shit out of him.
Good.
While everybody watches. And then they pay off some bouncers to take him to the hospital.
Yep.
And
I'm just leaving there.
Yeah. Phoenix asks Lennon to stay and offers to pay her. And she gets offended and is like, I'm not a prostitute.
Yeah.
And she's packing up. She's getting ready to leave. And he comes up with a plan to get her to stay. He's going to convince Chandler to let her get her job back, but he needs more time. So
I liked this.
Yeah.
I did think this was cute.
Quinn fakes an appendix burst to keep Lennon there. So they're like,
I love this whole scene because Storm brings her in and Lennon is like, oh my God, where's the ambulance? This girl is dying.
Yeah.
And Storm is even like, for a second there, I was convinced. And it's a funny scene.
It is. Yeah.
This is not a funny book, but that I thought was a funny scene.
Yeah, it is a great scene. While this is all happening, Phoenix confronts Chandler and demands for her to get her job back. And eventually Chandler gives in. Phoenix has some information about Chandler as it pertains to like Skylar and Memphis and just kind of some things that are happening with them that would make Chandler look bad with Skylar. And Chandler has a crush on Skylar. So he essentially agrees to keep Lennon on. And they kind of just go back to, they just bounce right back.
Yeah.
Basically. They just go back to business as usual.
Yep.
That night, Skylar, I had to bring up a scene. I wasn't going to, but I have to. That night, Skylar confronts Lennon in the green room with a bunch of printed photos of the compliments that people posted on the social media images that were posted. And they're all things like, about how Phoenix has great taste and how
hot Lennon is.
Yeah, all of these things. And then Skylar shows off her air quotes flaws.
Yeah.
She's like,
just some stretch marks.
I got some stretch marks. Look at my cellulite. The whole scene is so performative and gross. I fucking hate it.
I know. I was going to say, I didn't even write that down.
I hated that scene. Again, why?
Yeah.
Why? This is not a comparison. It doesn't matter. It literally does not matter what your body looks like. And I think it's absolutely so fucking silly and ridiculous that you would show off some fucking stretch marks and some fucking cellulite.
Yeah, I think that now you know what it's like to be bullied.
Yeah. Like, bitch, I'll show you some fucking cellulite. Like, I
Yeah.
don't, your little fucking size 5 cellulite doesn't bother me. Anyways, Phoenix's crew is supposed to be leaving for Europe, for the European leg of their tour. And they meet everybody on the tarmac and everybody is saying goodbye and the plane starts to take off.
Because Lennon's done.
Yeah.
She only agreed to US. She said, like, she did not agree to Europe.
Right.
So her job is done.
Right. She's supposed to get her paycheck and she's supposed to go home and take care of her dad. And the plane starts to leave and Phoenix isn't on it and she's freaking out. She's like, they're leaving without you. And Phoenix says, surprise, I'm actually going to stay one more day with you. He takes her home to his house to spend one last night with Lennon. And of course, they fight.
Yep.
Of course, they fight. And she locks herself in a room.
Yeah.
Where she discovers a box filled with what she initially thinks are songs that he wrote and soon discovers is filled with letters that he wrote to her and never sent her. And the letters are, I would say, devastating.
Yes, because they're like 2 days after losing you, like a week.
Yeah.
A year. I just went to Dartmouth. Like, I realized you've moved on. This is my last letter. They are.
Yeah.
It again really reinforces that he was in love with her. He did love her, even though they had a month together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 I know. I'm such a sap.
Oh my God. She confronts him about the letters, asks him why he never sent them. And then he worships her body. He takes her into his bedroom and he eats her out to orgasm. And then he has her suck his dick until he basically can't take it anymore. Pulls her up on top of him. There's more kissing.
Mhm.
Love the kissing.
Yeah.
He rolls her over until he's on top. And then they really just, they make love here.
Yeah. Yep.
So when they're both crying about it being their last night together. The next morning, he wakes up and he has to get onto his flight for Europe. So he writes beautiful on her in permanent marker and then goes to leave. And he should have left.
Yes.
Everything about the way that this entire scene was written was that he was leaving.
Yes.
I was like, oh, he's going to go and this is going to be the end of it. And they're going to get back together when he's done with this European leg of his tour. But Phoenix fucking Walker is an indulgent bastard. And he can't fucking let anything go. So he convinces her to go with him to Europe.
Yeah. He's written on her body now and was going to say goodbye. And he's like, I can't fucking do it. Wakes her up. And it's like, you have to come with me to Europe.
Yeah. And again, Lennon is processing all of this in like real time. So initially she's like, I'm so excited. And then they get to the plane, they get on the plane and she's like, what is this? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And they both realize it's never going to work. He needs to make a pretty big fucking admission in order for her to ever forgive him fully.
Yeah.
And so even though they were just excited about it, now they're not excited about it anymore.
Well, doesn't he like threaten her to get her to go? He's like,
Oh.
I could make it. You haven't gotten your check yet. I could make it so you don't get your check if you don't come.
That's right. Yes.
Because I remember just being so annoyed. I'm like, you almost fucking had it.
Yeah.
You almost had me.
Yep. Yeah.
And you go and pull this shit.
I know.
Because you have to get your way.
Yeah, he's so toxic. Yeah.
Oh, you're smiling as you say that.
I feel a little bit like I'm bringing you over to the dark side.
I know. There are some things that I did not like about him.
Sure.
I could get past them all, though.
Yeah. Okay. For Phoenix fucking Walker, you could.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah. They get to Europe. Lennon, Skylar, and Quinn have front row seats to this concert. And during a break, Skylar brings Lennon into a back room or a side room. And she's got all of these like clothes for Lennon. She's trying to get her ready and she's getting her primped. Lennon doesn't understand what's going on. And the next thing that she knows, Phoenix is bringing her on stage to sing her song for the crowd. And she's like, that's the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. And then he, in front of everybody.
I didn't like this.
Oh my God.
He, again, is thinking about himself and Lennon. He wants to get Lennon back. He thinks this is the way to do it. He's thinking about no one else.
Yeah. Yeah. He admits to the entire crowd that he stole the song from her. His bandmates don't even know.
Storm didn't even know.
Yeah.
Chandler didn't know. That's the reason that they were signed.
Yep. Yeah.
Idiot.
And she knows almost immediately that that's what he's about to do. And she's like, no, don't do it. She, I think, realizes what she wanted was to ruin him. And she really does not want that after
No.
all. And she is, I think, a little bit devastated that
Well, she
he,
sees a bigger picture.
yeah,
Like, this
absolutely.
isn't just his career now. This is everyone's career. And
Yep.
it's not some silly little, like, I stole your song. Like, they have this big career that he's now destroyed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty monumental. Chandler collects everybody to get them into kind of crisis mode. And this is when Lennon gets a call that her dad is sick, that he's in the hospital, and that she needs to come home. And she doesn't even bat an eye. She gets on a plane. She immediately goes home, where she learns that her father has been hospitalized and is in really, really bad condition.
Yeah.
The doctors end up coming in to talk to her about it, and she starts to slowly realize that he is basically brain dead.
Yeah.
There is no recovery from this. He is going to die. And when Phoenix learns this, he knows the one thing that Phoenix does right. I'm going to give this to him. He knows that Lennon would not want to get married without her dad.
Mhm.
So he proposes to her in the hospital room.
Yep. Yeah, he flew back from Europe too. He's there with her now.
Yep. He has somebody go get chaplain or whatever, and they perform the ceremony and get married right there in front of her dad. And then her dad dies.
Yeah.
So,
It really could have ended there. The book really
Yeah.
could have ended there.
yeah,
Honestly, the book could have kind of ended in Europe. I don't know. She could have sang the song and the book could have ended. All of the rest of this,
yeah,
there are no more sex scenes. I didn't need the rest of this book.
yeah. They go home to Lennon's home, and basically Lennon she's emotionally comatose.
Yeah.
She is completely shut down. She's locked herself in her room. She's not eating. Phoenix is still trying to navigate. He's thinking that he's going to drop this bomb and that he's going to have Lennon there to help him navigate this.
Mhm.
And now she's not.
Yeah.
All of the band shows up to her dad's funeral and they fight at the funeral because
Yeah.
his band, Storm, has not forgiven him.
No, and Phoenix just left.
Yeah.
He just left. Like, Chandler is freaking out. He's threatening to, like,
Replace him with
yeah,
another singer.
sue him. It just he is thinking about the now. He does
Mhm.
not have thoughts that go past right now. I don't know what he thought was gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's Phoenix Walker, so he just figured
Everything works out.
yeah. And I agree with, I mean, he says, like, Skylar tells him, because he calls in reinforcements, he calls Skylar, who he feels like can be a support system because she just, like, lost her fiance.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the sentiment, but I think losing a parent is a very different thing. But
Especially your only parent.
yeah. But he calls her in and she's like, what are you doing? What's the plan? They're threatening to replace you. And Phoenix is like, they can try.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I agree with him. I don't know that they would be able to replace him.
No.
That would be like Lincoln Park replacing, like it, they, I, they, it's, she's just not as good. Like, I don't know. Anyways, he sticks it out with her. And
Mhm.
he tells Lennon, because Lennon finds out that they are thinking about replacing him, and she tells him, "What are you doing? You have to go back." And then she tells him that she wants a divorce,
And
or
I
she wants
mean,
an annulment.
'cause Phoenix has chose Lennon.
Mhm,
He'll give up the band.
mhm,
He has resigned to if this is what will he's not losing Lennon.
mhm. He says, "I love music, but I love you more."
Yeah.
Which is
What he could have done in the first place.
yep,
Took him a minute to get there.
yep, yeah. So a lot of time has gone by where they have just been locked in a home. They're not having sex. They're She really doesn't even at this point like him.
Yeah.
She's so, like, deep into her, like, grieving process that she can't even feel any type of, like, gratitude. She's throwing granola bars at him
Yeah.
and
She wants him to just leave and divorce her.
yeah, which I think the way that I interpret that is as a trauma response.
Yes.
I think it's her not being willing to accept any type of support or help
Mhm.
because she's so used to doing everything by herself.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's so unfair to Phoenix because he doesn't know how to do any of the basics yet,
Mhm.
let alone do this. And I was very impressed with him that he stuck this out
Yeah,
because,
100%.
yeah, I
She didn't make it easy.
she didn't make it easy on him.
No.
I actually don't know what happens after this. What happens after this?
So Lennon calls Skylar to be like, "Hey, I need to talk to you, like, what's actually going on?" And Skylar tells Lennon that Phoenix quit the band. They're
Mhm.
replacing him. That just brings Lennon she's out of this what grieving that she was in.
Yeah.
And
And she
her and
jumps into savior mode.
yes.
That's something that she's so comfortable with. It is the easiest emotion to transition from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So her and Skylar come up with a plan to get Phoenix back. And she's like, how much time does it take to record this album?" "Okay, great. Phoenix will be there."
Because they had a timeline, a deadline that they had to finish the album by.
Because all the songs are picked out, all they have to do is record. And then Lennon goes in and they make up.
Mhm.
There is a cute little thing where she has tried to she did get drunk and try to have sex with Phoenix, and he turns her down because she's too drunk. So she crawls into bed and starts sucking on him. And she's like, "What the fuck? He's not waking up." And he eventually does because she then sucks harder and he eventually wakes up and he thinks that she thought she was drunk.
Yeah.
He's like, "I didn't want to. I just thought you'd maybe pass out and go back to bed."
Yeah.
And they make love.
Yeah.
And then 3 months later, Phoenix is at the recording studio. He and Lennon made a deal that if he pursued his dream, she has to pursue hers too.
Ah, yes.
So she is now recording a
Mhm.
song that apparently she wrote.
Yeah.
The end.
Ow.
And that last part, after her dad dies, is like 200 pages.
Wait,
We
what?
we really wrapped up like that like, once her dad dies, there's still like 200 more pages left in the book.
Oh, Jesus.
It's so much that we wrapped up in like 2 minutes. It
Yeah.
was just all kind of unnecessary, I
Yeah.
felt like.
You did tell me that when in the same breath you said,
Yeah.
"I loved this book so much it was too long."
Yes.
So, I love that you have the cognitive dissonance to be able to identify that.
Yeah.
So, that concludes.
We are finally finished.
Wow, we did it.
Our
Yeah, let's jump into ratings.
ratings, spice level.
Spice level, if we're just going off of graphic, I am going to give this book a 3.
I also gave it a 3. 700 pages, and there are not a ton of sex scenes.
Yeah.
I could have had so much more.
Yeah. I guess I don't think that most of the book was sexy.
No.
I would categorize this as a book with smut.
Yeah.
It's the storyline is meant to be its own storyline, and then the author was generous enough to provide us with some sex scenes to keep us
Yeah. There
interested.
is a lot of, like, that yearning and pining that I like
Mhm.
from the man said,
Yeah.
but it wasn't sexy.
Yeah.
It's not a very sexy at all book.
Yeah. But I do think in terms of graphic, it's definitely more than Fade to Black.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think she can write a great sex scene.
yeah, she does write a great sex scene. I don't think that it's not quite as graphic as some of the other ones that we've read.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I agree, or advanced.
mhm,
Spice frequency,
I would probably give this a 3.
a 3.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2. It's a long,
It
long
is a
book,
long book.
and we go through big spans with no sex.
Yeah. And then the sex scenes are very short,
Yes.
which again goes back to my spice level rating because the sex scenes they're not long, they're not
No.
drawn out, they're not super descriptive.
No.
They are wham bam, thank you ma'am, and then they get back to the story.
Yeah.
So there is some detail and some description, but it is pretty minimal. And so yeah, I would agree that
They were all really hot, though.
they were all really hot. And I think it scored a little bit higher because I do on the frequency scale because I do think that like the scenes are well timed and well placed
Yeah,
for when
I
they do
agree.
happen.
I agree. Pros. I feel like from here on out, you're gonna be given low scores.
I'm gonna give it a 2.
A 2.
Mhm.
Dang.
There was multiple times reading the book where I really had a hard time. I really had a hard time immersing myself in the book.
Sure.
I did cry only because, as we've talked about in the past, I just don't do children. I just don't. It does not matter. Just even the thought of it is upsetting for me. So I but it wasn't I didn't cry because I was so, like, immersed in the story
Right.
or immersed in the characters, and I think that many, many, many of the characters in this book were written as a plot device,
Yes,
and
100%.
there are multiple times with both. I think that both Lennon and Phoenix are written very realistically in terms of what that toxic type of relationship looks like,
Yeah,
but I feel like it's so Phoenix Lennon centric that the rest of the world doesn't feel well developed and well built. The
I
only
agree.
only parts of this book that are well developed are those two. And the conversations, the activities, some of the things that she describes, there are maybe only truly one or two scenes outside of the sex scenes where I can really the scene where Lennon shows up at the hotel party is one of the most well-written scenes in the book, and it's a throwaway scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna give it a 2.
I gave it a 3. I'm kinda right there with you. It has that forced friendship with
Mhm,
the women that we
mhm.
just hate to see.
Yeah.
Gwen is a plot device, Graham is a plot device,
Mhm,
George is a plot device.
mhm.
Every other person in the story, besides maybe Storm,
Yeah,
is a plot device.
yeah.
Memphis and all of his drama,
Yep.
unnecessary
Yeah.
drama.
We didn't even talk about it on the episode, but one of Memphis's baby mamas is this reality TV star, and it turns out that she actually is pregnant with his kid, and then they decide that they're gonna get engaged.
Yeah, and Skylar is in love with him,
It
and
and
it's
she's beating herself up because she's done so many horrible things to him, and, just the whole thing.
she was engaged to his brother.
Oh my god. They coulda just
I
fucking left it out, honestly. If you're
agree.
not gonna do it right, just don't fucking do it.
Agreed. I think again, I think that's what those other books are about,
Yeah.
but I am not invested enough in Memphis or Skylar
Agreed.
to care.
Yes. Agreed.
I could have been that invested in Storm,
Yes.
just because I think we would have gotten a Tangled in Tinsel type of spicy book.
Yes. I love that.
Yes.
Yes.
Storyline.
Storyline, I'm gonna give a 4.
I gave it a 4 too, and it's just because it was too long.
Sure.
Literally, my note says too long.
Sure.
It There was a lot of unnecessary, and I'm reading another book right now while I just finished it, When the Moon Hatched.
Yeah.
It is too long, and there's so much unnecessary stuff that happens that
Mm,
there's no reason to put it in there at all. It
sure.
has nothing to move the plot.
Mhm.
It happens, and then nobody talks about it again, and
Yeah.
I hate that. So but I do really like that story. I like
Mhm.
that story.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the premise of the story is a great
Yeah.
idea, and I think it has.
It's a big genre.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
and
a tattooed man who can sing.
yeah, I enjoyed reading this book,
Yeah,
like, truth be told. I mean, as mad as I am at some of the pieces of it, like,
yeah,
the story is good. I mean, it's a good premise, and for the most part, it is executed well. I think that it would have gotten higher rated on prose if she had broken it up into multiple books and dived deeper into each of these 4-year spans of
agreed.
time. Like, if she had spent more time existing in each of those, like, the entire thing after her dad died, there was a lot to explore there.
Yeah,
All of those things that were happening were, had they been done correctly as a standalone book, would have been very interesting. All of those things that happened with Skylar and Memphis and the recording and all of the things, you could have made an entire book about that.
right.
And it would have been interesting had you done the proper character development from the beginning.
Yes,
So the story of this book, I'm going to give it a 4 because I think that it had the capacity to be a much better story.
it did. Which of our authors would you like to see rewrite this story?
That is an excellent question. Thank you so much for asking. I would like Trelawney Pucci to
Yeah,
rewrite the story
yeah.
because she would fucking crush this.
It would have been funny and cute
Mhm.
and
Yes. Yep.
yes. Yes, she's one of my favorites that we've done.
Me too.
I'm like, I basically know her.
Oh my god, you're practically famous.
I know. Overall,
Overall, I'm gonna give it a 3.
I expected that from you.
Okay. When I give my ratings, you guys can't see this, but when I give my ratings, Nicole writes them down because she keeps track of them for social media.
Mhm.
And it's the most like,
Yep. Yep. I gave it a 5 just
yeah.
because even when I first recommended this to you and to Brooke, I gave it 10 out of 10,
Mhm.
even though it was too long, even though there were things I didn't like about it. I really like these characters.
Yeah.
Lennon is one of my top female characters, I think, female main
Ooh.
characters.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but only because of
Mhm.
her relationship with Phoenix.
Yeah.
If she was in a nice, healthy relationship, I don't wanna read about it.
Sure.
But because I think there's something about Phoenix, and I think it is maybe feels nostalgic for me,
Sure.
that I really enjoyed reading about them, and I saw myself a lot in this book.
I was just gonna say, I think that their relationship is really, really, really very realistic.
Yes.
It's very, very realistic. We have all been in this type of toxic relationship, and I think that is very easy, and that's probably why I liked it more in that like after the high school because it was much more relatable at that point for
Yeah.
me. Their dynamic of this sort of like love-hate, and to your point, like how you were like, "Oh, well, she really committed to the love-hate." That's real fucking life. In most of these books, the enemies to lovers goes from enemies to lovers to like soulmates.
Yes.
They never have any more issues after that. They never fight
Mhm.
anymore after that. This book is very realistic of what a true enemies to lovers look like.
Yeah.
These people went back and forth constantly about how they felt about each other. And especially at their ages, because they're still only like 23 years old when this book is
Yeah.
happening. So this is a really like, we've all fucking been here. And I can completely understand why you would be able to find yourself in this
Yeah.
book. And I agree with you. I think I could also see myself a lot in these characters. So
If somebody has this on their TBR, would you say to read it or to trash it?
I would ask them what else is on their TBR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say read it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
recommend it. Just
Yeah.
those sex scenes really did it for me.
Yeah.
I have gone back to this book. I only have it on Kindle Unlimited, and keep it downloaded so I can go back when I'm feeling
Yeah.
like I need a little something.
Yeah. I love that for you.
Yeah. It's
I
one of the only books that I go back to that regularly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for a while, I was going back to The Never King
Mm,
because the vines still get me.
yeah. I have a short book. I don't even know what it's called. It's not like a book. It's literally just like a little smutty piece. It's literally 25 pages long. It's
Yeah.
not like there's no plot. It literally is just
It's a good porn scene.
it really is, and that's always my go-to, but it wouldn't make the podcast because it's
No.
not long,
Yeah, too
unfortunately.
short. Well, this book is not super accessible. It is on Kindle Unlimited. You can buy it on Amazon, but that's really the only place that you can find it otherwise. And
Okay.
again, I think it has something maybe to do with Ashley Jade not
Yeah. She
really
doesn't have
maybe
a big
writing anymore. Yeah.
yeah.
So
We wanna thank Paggle, as always, for our help with social media, and Nicole, because Nicole has also been
we've kinda let it go. I've kinda let it go.
All right.
It
We're
was
not
just
thanking
the
Nicole.
holidays.
We're only thanking
Just
Paggle.
Peggle.
We appreciate her. She's put together just such a beautiful social media page, and we would love if you went and visited us there. We are on TikTok and Instagram at BookSlutsPod and online at bookslutspodcast.com. We don't have a lot of information, unfortunately, about the author because she does not have a extensive online presence. A quick Google search of her just says Ashley Jade is a Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and top 20 bestselling Amazon author who craves tackling different genres and tropes within romance. Her first loves are new adult romance, contemporary romance, and romantic suspense, but she also writes everything in between, including erotica and dark romance.
Yeah.
So we don't really know a ton about her other than that. And we mentioned it in the last episode, but she doesn't have like her Facebook website is not active any longer, and she doesn't have a website. So she is on Instagram, and you can follow her there if you want more on her. All right. Well, join us next week. We are reading, recapping, and reviewing the oh so popular book, Lights Out. Nicole is
I
absolutely
cannot wait.
thrilled. Yeah.
I can't wait to talk to you about that book.
I'm pretty excited as well. I'm Amanda,
I'm Nicole.
and we are Book Sluts. See you next time. Bye.
No.